In this video, I want to talk about private rentals. I want to talk about the key things on how you go from renting cars on Turo to renting it to customers directly. It's a way where you can 50%, even 100% your revenue, which is crazy. You make a lot more money. I remember when I was first getting into Turo, I thought about getting into private, or some people call it traditional rentals. It's hard because you're kind of scared to do it. You're nervous, you have 3 or 5 cars, you have 10, 20 cars. You're scared of a couple of things. You're scared, like, what if you don't have a good contract and they steal the car, you can't get it back? What if they steal the car? What do I do next? What if they break the car? How am I gonna make sure I can go through the insurance claim? What if they don't pay me to extend it? There's all these risk factors and things that scare people, but it's actually not as difficult and scary as many people might think. How I thought it was initially. I was really scared. I remember one of our first renters actually stole the car. It was like maybe our 30th private rental, rented a car, was paying every week or something. They had like a longer term deal. And then they just stopped paying one day, wouldn't return the car, and it was one of the first cars, so we didn't have a tracker in it. So they literally stole it. So we had to go through a ton of different ways. We eventually found it, we took it back, but it was hard. That kind of taught us right away, like, okay, we can do private rentals, but it has to be well thought out. We can't just give people cars, take payments anyway, write any contract, not have trackers. Like, there has to be method to the madness, really. So a couple key ideas that I want to take away from getting into traditional rentals. I just want to go over like the biggest things that will like truly impact your business if you don't do them properly. The first thing, in my opinion, is contracts. I think if you don't have the right contract, if it doesn't portray the right things, it will be rare that you'll get into trouble or have issues. But in the case where the renter owes you money because their insurance got canceled, they got in an accident, it's $10,000, you need a good contract in order to make sure that you get paid out. There's some people that owe us up to $5,000 or $10,000 from previous rentals, whether it's accidents or they went to Florida. We had to tow it back. We had to repossess it from them essentially. And they had it for 3 weeks later than what we intended. But having a good contract will essentially protect you legally from any issues. It's not going to protect you all the way. The people are still going to try to steal cars. They're still going to try to do chargebacks on your card, meaning they try to get their money back from the bank. There's people always are going to be trying to take advantage of you and your business and the system. But as long as you have a good rental contract in place, I think it's a good base. It's good because on one side you have the customer, which could be trying to finagle you in certain ways, but then you have the insurance companies. If you don't have a good enough contract that states certain things, the insurance companies may not pay you out. So let's say you rent a car from me. I verify your insurance, everything looks good. You sign my rental contract, but it doesn't state that you're liable for damages, or if it doesn't state that your insurance will be primary, then in the case that you get into an accident, the insurance company, the first thing they're going to say, send me the rental contract, send us a letter. So if you send them a rental contract and it doesn't portray what they want to see, then they're just going to deny it. Or they're going to find a way to get out of it or pay you less. So you have to be very specific in making sure that your rental contract is very precise. It puts the obligation of risk onto the renter in all aspects, whether it's damage or claims or compensation for miscellaneous things. So you have to be very clear on that. On top of that, this is kind of another big rule in private rentals, but it's kind of attached to the contracts, is you need to know your fees, like your smoking fee, your cleaning fee, if you have to repossess it from them, how much you're gonna charge per mile. I think a lot of this will take time to do. It's not something where you wanna make like a ton of money on. Like, somebody smokes in your car, you shouldn't charge them $5,000, because in the case that they don't pay, you try to take them to court, judge is going to see that, say, okay, well, you're not going to get $5,000 for them smoking in your car. It doesn't cause that much damage. And I'll just give you our fees for an example. So we charge $250 for smoking, which we initially got from Turo. You can charge up to $500. You can charge more depending on whether it's marijuana or smoke, whether there's ash in the car or not. We do a $150 cleaning fee. Sometimes we'll do more of a cleaning fee depending on how bad it is. Like, if a car is excessively bad, costs us more money, maybe $250 to clean, then we'll charge them. But the point of these fees, really the cleaning fee, isn't to profit. Like, you're not trying to make a ton of money on the cleaning fees. It's to cover your base cost. Maybe have a small margin, but it's really to cover your cost of, okay, what would it cost me for a professional detailer to come here, clean this car? Typically it's about $100 to $150. On top of that, in the contract, you want something, different states have different words, but it's essentially a stolen car code, which means if you rent a car, if you don't pay in 72 hours upon me asking for payment, then at that point it becomes a stolen car. It's a conversion notice, meaning it converts from a rental contract to a stolen car. If you don't have that, you actually can't convert it from a rental to a stolen vehicle, in which case you can't send it to your insurance. So let's say you rent a car from me, we have a contract, there's not a conversion notice in it, then what will happen is, you stole the car, I can't find it, they took the tracker out, okay, well, I can't find it, I'm having a lot of trouble, let me try to go after your insurance company to try to get compensation. Your insurance company may have been canceled. Let's just use that. You can't figure out their insurance, whether they cancel it or don't have it. So I have to go to my insurance, say, hey, I had a car stolen, obviously I'm gonna be compensated, you guys cover stolen vehicles. They're gonna say, okay, cool, give us the conversion notice, which is essentially from law enforcement. And you're gonna say, what conversion notice? Then you're gonna go back and say, okay, well, let me go to law enforcement and let me get a conversion notice. Go to law enforcement, first thing they're gonna say is, okay, we can do this, give me your rental contract. They're gonna look at your rental contract, they're gonna see that you didn't have a conversion notice with a certain time frame. Time frame is normally 72 hours, so 3 business days, or 3 regular days, it doesn't have to be business. If you don't have that notice, they can't convert it into a stolen car, which means that your insurance can't take it as a stolen car because it's technically not. So we found that out when that car was stolen that I mentioned earlier. We tried to convert it to a stolen car to hit our insurance. The police are like, we can't do this. This is a civil case, and you don't have a stolen car notice on your contract. Like, there's literally nothing we can do for you. So that hit us hard. It dawned on us that if we don't do this right, one thing, like one car in a small fleet, will ruin you. I mean, it'll ruin your business model that you've created. So from there, we started doing everything right. The second thing that is super important, and this is something that most people are scared of, to be honest, it's insurance. There's many different insurances you need to have or look out for. First one is your own insurance, okay? Rental company needs insurance on the vehicle. The key part of this is you can do excess insurance, that's fine, which is most of like it's most of like Turo, like period X insurance anyways, but they need to be fine with you renting privately. Because in the off chance that you rent a car to somebody, they get in an accident, their insurance for some reason doesn't cover it, so you try to hit it on your policy is going to say no, because they're going to want proof that is on a like a Turo trip or whatever. If you have your own personal insurance, which you should never do, you need a commercial policy. It needs to allow private rentals. But if you use a personal policy, you attempt to hit it on there, they're going to say, okay, well, who had the car? I've heard of one case actually where they accepted and they paid out, but they're going to say, okay, well, who had the car? Okay, what were they doing with the car? You can lie, I guess, which is illegal, say that, oh, it's just my friend driving it. They got in an accident, they didn't have insurance. In which case, I don't know, they're probably not going to cover it. Maybe they will. In the case that I heard, if the people covered it. Or you could say somebody rented it, in which case your insurance will reject you and probably cancel your policy. So there's there's not really a gray line, there's really a black white line. Like, you need commercial insurance so you can get covered in case of a rental, and then you need to make sure that it covers you in cases like this. The second thing is you want to verify renter's insurance. You should never rent a car out where they don't have insurance unless you are on a platform that allows for that, or you have an insurance policy that specifically allows you to sell coverage to renters. Because in the case that you don't, again, it's going to be a similar situation. Like, let's give an example. Let's say you have an insurance company, they allow for private rentals, but they're in excess. So you rent a car out, you didn't verify insurance because you're going to assume that you're using yours. I've heard about this plenty of times. You rent your car out, they get in an accident, they don't have their own insurance, so it's going to fall back on yours. And your insurance is going to say, hey, this is fine, send us information, send us the renter's insurance policy. And you're going to say, what insurance policy? And they're going to say, well, in our bylaws, they need to have insurance. If not, we can't cover it. There's 2 places they don't cover. They don't cover the renter, which means your car, and they don't cover the other party. So if your renter's at fault, you're technically, this is like really sketchy. You're in a zone now where there's no coverage on the car technically because you have an excess. In order for that excess to be in place, you need the renter's primary policy. So pretty much what would happen is your policy would reject you. They'd say, we're not going to cover this. And they're not going to cover the vehicle, which is like your car damage. And they're not going to cover the other person attempting to go after you for damages. So it puts you in a really, really bad position. So not only are you covering your car accident, damage, whatever, but you're also covering the other vehicles. So you want to make sure that you have the right insurance policy. The third thing that I want to talk about is the payment processing. I know this sounds simple, I know this sounds easy, but it's actually a lot harder. Most people don't know this, is that you need an actual payment processor that takes credit card, debit card. You need to keep a credit or debit card on file. You should never take Zelle, you should never take cash. The people that I've heard of that take cash or Zelle or a processor that because I'll reference it for you. You need the ability to, you return the car to me. I need to charge you because you smoked in my card. It exceeded your deposit. I need to be able to charge your card. If you have Zelle or Cash App or cash, you can request it. You can say, hey, can you Zelle or Cash App me again? They could just not do it. So you run a really high risk. In this whole scenario of collecting payments, you need to be able to collect a deposit every rental. But there's going to be a difference in deposit. If you're renting a Model Y, you're maybe only spending maybe $350 for deposit. Cheap cars like $250. If you're renting a Mercedes G-Wagon, your deposit's probably going to be like $1,000, $1,500. It's going to be much, much higher. If you're renting a Huracan, you're probably spending $2,500. But the point is you need a certain amount to cover you for any potential losses. So again, if somebody rents a car, if they smoke in your car, or if they break something, you need a deposit in order to be able to cover this. Because if you don't, you're probably not going to have it covered for. So expect to pay out of pocket. But back to the theory of like Cash App, Zelle, just don't do it. The people that I know that have done it, you might not get burned the first time, you might not get burned the second time, but I promise you at some point long enough down the rental journey, you will get burned. All right, so those are the 3 biggest lessons on getting into private rentals. Honestly, the places where I thought I had the most risk, but if you do them right, it can be worth it. I think getting into private rentals is absolutely worth it. I'll say one more thing before we jump off. It doesn't matter how many cars you have, 1 car, 3 cars, 5 cars, get into private rentals as soon as you can. Start working on your process, because I've talked to too many people that have 5 cars, 10 cars, maybe less, and they say, I don't want to get into it. I want to have 20 cars, 50 cars first. In my mind, I'm like, why would you want to have more cars first? Like, what's the difference? Whether you have 5 or 10, there's no difference in you starting private. The only difference is instead of doing it today, you're pushing it off from a year from now. It's kind of like, first of the year, everyone says, I want to start working out this year, and then it's the same goal next year because they didn't start working out this year. So in my opinion, just start it right away. Even if you have 1 car, like just start the process. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be great, because then once you get to that year period where you would have started later, you're going to have everything figured out versus having to start from the beginning. So start as soon as you can. My suggestion is start today. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching.